Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Future Proof, the podcast where we're decoding how founders, CEOs, and leaders are using AI, automation, and data to work smarter and innovate into new areas. And if you're looking to future-proof your business, you're definitely in the right place. And today, I'm joined by Paul Korman from Truckman's ReproGraphics in Cedar Knolls, New Jersey. Hey, Paul, welcome, and welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending some time with us. Let's dive right in, Paul. So talk to us about kind of your background. You've been leading Truckman's for a long time, but tell us about that and then kind of how Truckman's has evolved over the years.
Well, we're a almost 70-year-old print services company that back in the early days used nothing but mechanical processes because that's all there was.
Right.
I was not there for the very beginning. I'm not that old. I'm close, but I've been with the company for close to 55 years now. And
Amazing.
So I'm the second generation in a company that third generation is immersed in the business and fourth generation has arrived. He's actually He's actually out making deliveries today. So We've served in northern New Jersey the corporate community as well as all of the professional and institutional support services around what was a hotbed early on for telecommunications as well as life sciences. And we had companies here like AT&T, Verizon. The wireless industry was established here. In fact, in 1984 and 85, we printed all the applications for the first cell sites ever built in America.
Amazing.
We service a number of the large headquarters in pharma, including Novartis and Sanofi and a number of other smaller companies that are in the region here. So this has always been a hotbed for healthcare. But along with that goes a lot of creative services as well as in the built environment, the architectural and engineering and environmental environments, as well as professional services, law. And I guess we've done some work for a number of consultants who do work in those areas. And then tech is coming into the area as well. And it's a different world now in all of those areas. Post-COVID, where a lot of our spaces locally are being torn down, buildings that we saw go up are being torn down and replaced by data centers and fulfillment centers. And a lot of people that we work with now, we do porch deliveries and produce work for them from their homes.
Yeah, I would imagine, right? It definitely was one of my questions about how COVID's changed things. That's a great one. So, Paul, over the years, right? I mean, you've seen technology impact your industry in probably really good ways, and I'm sure, and some ways in which you've had to navigate what you had to do way back, right, when you were first taking over and working at the company versus what you're able to do today. Can you kind of elaborate on some of like the machinery and the creative process and some of those things and the innovations that have happened along?
Oh yeah, we moved from straight ink and press and different types of analog equipment, including large photographic departments, into the digital arena in the mid-1980s. And since that time, creativity has exploded because you've now got the capability to be able to create visuals for marketing purposes and all types of forms of communication. And I mean that from the standpoint of it could be messages at a corporation that are inspirational as well as educational, not just marketing. And then we've moved into a large segment of our business is image capture, where we're backfile converting old records and bringing them into the digital environment. So the paper is really just personalized type of stuff. And we're actually even providing digitally a factory environment for some Etsy products where they're personalized gifts that go out on a season.
Wow.
And so there are times where during romantic seasons and Christmas, we might be shipping 800 to 1,000 packages a day as a transparent manufacturer for one of our clients who has an Etsy site that they sell seasonally on.
That's amazing. And I was going to ask you about how you're unlocking new areas, new channels, right? As print comes down, but I would imagine you're still really high on things that are in the office or events and trade shows. All that stuff still has to be printed, right, at a high level. But that Etsy thing is amazing because I could see a lot of personalization really coming into play now, right? for a lot of
Yeah.
brands.
Yeah. Yeah, in this particular case, it's a one-off. One of them is a one-off cluster. It's like a centerpiece of photographs. And so for Valentine's Day, somebody might take the photographs of him and his girlfriend or his fiance or his wife and put 16, 18 pictures, I guess it is, in this thing that unfolds like a flower in the front of the table. And it goes in a nice
Wow.
box, and it's got a gift in the core. And everyone is an individual one-off. The fun thing is it's become so widespread that we see celebrities doing these for family members. So some of the stuff has been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool. Really
Yeah.
cool. So now talk to me about like within the company, right? You have, your different departments that all enable this, right, in some way, shape, or form. Where have the biggest innovation impacts happened? Is it in the creative department now with AI capabilities? Is it in the machinery that you can do things so much faster and so much higher res? Where are those big innovation levers that you see in the print industry?
Well, frankly, we've done a lot of conventional print over the years, but we jumped into the wide format digital environment in 1986 when it started. But more recently, over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, that field has moved into decor. So what we're doing with devices that now no longer have hazard warnings on the front of them, but are basically latex or resin-based products that are no different than the latex paint than you would put in your house.
Right.
We're producing high-resolution graphics that are becoming a lot of these feature walls that you're seeing everywhere. But the feature walls that we're doing, unlike has been over the course of the last decade or so in the sign industry, are essentially certified. They're LEED certified, Green Gold Guard, AGB certified graphics that are digitally created, and again, one-offs. So you can create walls that are virtually unique to your environment or unique to your message. And these things are going up in schools and municipal buildings and corporations and at construction sites in areas where they're building visitor centers for people that are coming into residential communities. I mean, it's almost limitless. But the cool thing, as you ask about AI, is that a lot of the images that are created with photographs and different types of graphics out there. But we're now starting to see engines in AI that literally will, by description, by you simply describing what it is
Right.
you would like to have it create, that a high-res digital image can be created and then actually digitally produced to create environmental graphics that really, before the input is given, we're simply a part of your imagination. It's just amazing what's happening in this field.
Yeah, and that was kind of the ones I wanted to dig into because I know on the marketing side, right? I've been in marketing a long time, and one of the hardest parts was when you had a great idea or someone had a great idea on your team of how to get the graphics person to understand what you were trying to do. Now with AI, like you talked about, you can speak it and come up, oh, that's not really what I thought. Change this, and you actually can hand your graphics team exactly what you want or really close. And that cycle has to have been sped up by weeks, if not months in some cases.
Yeah. And the biggest limitation prior to digital was content and the availability of
Absolutely.
content. And then, with digital, you could capture content and then insert it. But now you have AI going out and finding it and then adding different types of modification or merging different types of images together in a way that is just, not only is it spectacular and creative, but it's in many cases instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
amazing how you can go from, a concept in your head to a concept on a monitor or on a proof in just a very, very short period of time compared to what we would deal with really throughout our history.
Yeah. So now, right? And I couldn't agree more because we're seeing this across all these industries, right? Of little things that used to take a long, long time that now can be done like that speed up that workflow and that timeline. How is that impacting, right? Like if you think about inside of your company, is it allowing you to shift things and explore other areas, open new channels? Like what does that do from a leader standpoint? Right, when you take that and shrink that effort and timeline down.
Well, a couple of things it does is it actually speeds us up in some cases to the point where people aren't ready for us.
Yeah.
So there are other things that have to catch up, or in some cases we have to schedule and coordinate. So collaboration is still important. The reason I say that is just imagine you're okay. I show up at a space and we're ready to go and we're ready to put it up. But a lot of these are new construction or fit outs of existing space,
Right.
and the space has to be primed and the walls have to be done. It has to be primed and printed. We're actually next week traveling to a project in the Midwest, and although we've been a regional company in this visual and environmental graphics environment, in the last year we've done work in I think 13 or 14 states and 2 of the provinces in Canada, because
Wow.
the leadership position that we're taking in this and the recognition that we're getting and the referrals and people seeing us on social has just exploded this to the point where it doesn't matter where we are. We're able to support, and we are, because we have installers all over the country. But I have people who are showing up at a Midwest location on what was supposed to be a 2-phase project. They're going for the 4th phase, because every
Wow.
time we went, we got there and the folks weren't ready, and so we had to finish what we could finish and go back. And so we're kind of taking a step back and saying, okay, let's be realistic and coordinate these things. But it has actually, in some cases, outpaced what's going on elsewhere out there in the world. And I think this is probably unique to the type of business that we're in, because we're not just fabricating something and sending it to a meeting.
No, it's customized.
We're
right?
putting it up in a space. Now, one of the things I will say is there's actually an interesting blending of those two things, because some of what we do is temporary. Some of we do visuals that we did one in a pharmaceutical company where they got an FDA approval on a drug, and we essentially branded their office 3 stories, graphics. We did stair risers, so as you approach the stairs, if you look at the risers, that it was actually an image. We did 9 elevator graphics, we did floor graphics, we did window graphics, and it was only up for a few weeks. So we use a repositionable material, kind of like the fat heads that they sold for kids. With the football and baseball players, and we go in and put it up, we put it up and we take it down. And then as a part of that process, if we take it down and there's any damage that occurs, we've got contractors that we work with who come in behind us and restore the space. It doesn't happen often, but it happens, and it's something that facilities people are concerned about. But we do that kind of stuff. So we're now doing events. I mean, we actually work with a company who does bar mitzvahs and weddings and what have you, where they do all types of visual stuff, and we support them, and they do all the installation. But we're doing some things in the public relations space and in the training space where we go in and we wrap columns, and we put graphics on windows, and we put graphics on walls just for the event. They literally come down. They go up on a Thursday and come down on a Saturday. And so
crazy.
Some of this stuff is permanent. And when I say permanent, this stuff we produce, depending upon the grade that we use, can be certified 5 years face up in the Arizona sun in terms of fade resistance.
So just depending on what the materials you use, right? You're gonna. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing I haven't said is that on the wall covering side, we don't just do wall covering like vinyl. There at this point, there's probably hundreds. Is at least last count, and I think it's been a while since I've counted, but there were over 400 different types of wallpaper that we could produce on. So it's not
amazing.
Just being used for for clean, washable graphic scenario, although probably most of it is that at this point. And then the other thing we're doing, which is not just frost, but we're doing frost and we're doing window graphics for security, for distraction, so you don't walk through the window. But also a lot of that now is becoming digitally produced. So there's customized types of images that are being put on windows for both security or just for vanity, for ornate purposes.
Yeah. So Paul, this is amazing, and I wasn't even thinking about the stuff that is, like for events and temporary, right? Events make sense, right? Because that's what this space is about. To do it at a pharma company for, a 3-week period and then roll it back out. That's really, really impactful and cool. Do you see things like 3D printing coming into your space now, or like where does it go next?
I'm in a consortium, really a group. We set up a corporation to work with vendors and technology companies to pool resources, so an independent company like mine could compete with the large print conglomerates around the world. And we set this up some 30 years ago.
Okay.
And there are companies, there are consortium partners of ours who have developed a niche for 3D printing and do that themselves. And we take advantage of their services. And so essentially outsource some of that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
for us, it's not as much 3D as you would think of 3D, like making a new mirror for your car or creating a
Right.
model of a building. For us, CD is kind of maybe 2.5D in that we do contour work. So we contour
That's
cut
kind of what I was
lettering.
thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't really thinking about, hey, we're going to build a house, right, with 3D. But yeah, you're right. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we already do dimensional lettering and graphics and what have you, whether it's for walls or, I mean, we also wrap vehicles. I mean, I think this spring so far in our pipeline, we've got 17 vehicles that we're wrapping or producing graphics for in a variety of different ways. And a lot of that is dimensionally cut, but we also dimensionally cut different types of substrates. So, we in addition to putting up the wall covering, we do different types of signage. We do acrylic and we do a PVC. And so sometimes this stuff will be dimensionally cut in the form of letters, either printed on or color materials that are cut and then mounted on the wall. And so that's very common. We cut logos. We actually did a fantastic, really almost like a sign job that was cut out of metal. And it was, I can't even tell you how many pieces it was. One of my people did the work. Just looking at the picture of it, it was dozens and dozens of pieces that were assembled on the wall as a collage. And so,
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty cool. We actually, my son is at a consortium meeting, also in the Midwest this week, and they were in one of the facilities where one of the CNC cutter manufacturers was touring us through the facility, and he saw an application on the wall that his client had asked him for earlier in the day because they wanted to start doing different things with their interior decor. And he sent them a picture, and we're going to start doing it. And it literally is cutting acoustic panels. So it's not even printing. It is literally just cutting something in a form that essentially, in this particular case, when you walked into their facility, they have the individual states cut and mounted on the wall in the shape of the United States of America. Right next to that, they have the provinces of Canada. So, that was
Really
a creative design. In this particular scenario, you could do that and just put up a panel, but we could also print on it. So if you wanted to do something like that and have it be a printed form, we can merge those technologies to be able to do that. And again, going back to the creativity of AI, you could do it with absolutely anything. You could do it with...
I think it's unlocking a lot of stuff. So let me ask you this. Where do you think AI will have its biggest impact in this industry? I know we can't look out very far because it changes so damn fast these days. But like if you look the next 12 to 18 months, Paul, where do you see the impacts of this? It's coming. Where do you see the biggest, areas?
Well, I mean, I think there are a couple of different areas that it impacts what it is we do. And one of the things we haven't even talked about is, apart from all of the creative, we've used AI going all the way back to the pandemic. Because I just talked about cutting different forms, and we actually pivoted to begin to cut acrylic and install it for all of these shields that were used during COVID. And we actually found prospects for that and did hundreds of thousands of dollars of work in that area during COVID because we were an essential service here. So we were open, and we found all of those contacts using an AI technology that basically was a contact builder.
Wow.
So
that's fantastic.
So on the front end of the business, being able to harvest information for, once you identify, well, what is a specific type of a client in a vertical field, then, you simply ask whatever AI program you're using or programs you're using to find you that person. And my brother-in-law was a tech guy with both AT&T and Verizon. And he was over my house one day, and I said to him, yeah, I'm really looking to find this person. And he pulled out his phone and opened an app on his phone, and he gave me the name of the two top people to call in that company, which is one of the biggest companies in America. And I had that information the next day. And he also put the app on my phone.
Yeah.
So that's huge, I think, in being able to find the people who are prospects from this, really prospects from, but when it comes down to it, the people who are going to benefit the most from learning about what it is that we can do. Yeah. And then on the other end, I just don't know.
Nobody does. That's what's amazing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what I told you about regarding the visual thing was something I think I saw for the first time 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Right.
So it's this
Right.
moving
When the
back.
image creator came out, right? Yeah. It's
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that was jaw dropping. And the thing was,
Yeah.
I actually lost a job recently to a regular customer. This is a customer that got us the customer that we were in the Midwest on that 3-phase job for. So
Yeah.
ultimately, I had their work already. I had been doing their
Mhm.
work for a decade. And they had a project where they had a client who wanted to find specific types of images, but they gave us non-specific instruction. We couldn't come up with enough examples that really
Right.
got their attention. And I think it's going to be building content or having access to be able to create content examples for projects to be able to accelerate from concept to installation.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be it. Apart from that, if you ask me this question a week from now, I'd probably have a whole lot more information, because the brightest and the best in my industry, in our consortium, 80 companies and representing 200 locations around North America, are all in Milwaukee today, and they're
Meeting,
all
right?
they just share ideas. The greatest thing
Okay.
about that group is the time after. You
Yeah.
you go and you tour the local facility, and then people just share what it is that they're doing. And so, we're in our limited capacity here, but it's pretty broad because of the significance of what we're doing and who we're doing it for. But we have people, the guy in Milwaukee, he did the Republican convention. So he did the visual graphics for everything for that out there. And so, another one of them does MLB. Another one of them does fixed sporting goods, and every seasonal change. So
they're on the cutting edge of ideas, right?
Yeah. So whether it's
and
retail,
sharing ideas is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, whether it's retail or corporate or entertainment or institutional or whatever, the opportunities are just extraordinary. And I think one of the other things that'll happen in this field is that we're doing stuff all over the place, but we're taking advantage of the group that we have in some cases to do fabrication more local to the project. And I think one of the things that'll come out of this is that you'll have the opportunity to reduce carbon footprint by not shipping materials back and forth, but by actually being able to fabricate in multiple locations and do your fabrication close to the installation as well.
That's fantastic. I love that. Yeah, amazing. All right, I have one last question for you, Paul. And this is always my selfish question I ask every founder and CEO is, if you could fix one thing in your business today with AI, what would that be? It's not always an easy question. So yeah, it's okay if you're thinking through it, because what your example with finding your contacts was a great one, right? I always tell people that they need to do that. And so any others that come top of mind for you?
Yeah, there's always, 2 or 3 things in your business that you're working on. I'm a big football fan, and it was just draft time. And so, you look at people trying to plug all different types of holes. And that's not that different than what we're trying to do from an organization, whether it's coming up with a better process, a better coach, whatever it is. But it's interesting. I'm still on the engines online to try to find people. And it's all about putting the information out there and pulling. So, for me, I think one of the great opportunities in AI might be to be able to put in a situation where you try to find a person the same way that you're finding a prospect.
It's funny you say that, Paul. I've had 3 different HR staffing companies that are using AI to do exactly that, because they're saying that they don't get they get too many candidates and there's too much machines in the middle and not getting you the right person, and not enough pre-screening. I had Prem Kumar from Humanly.io, which is amazing AI, staffing and recruiting, to solve that, right? Mm-hmm. So remind me, I will send you some research just for you to check out, because I think that I get that probably, 1 out of 4 times. The question is, how do I find that talent? Right? Because then when you take the right person, find them. And what we call AI today are digital coworkers. When you can put the AI resources with a great employee, it just explodes their potential. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, and I think the other thing I was going to say is that if you think about it relative to the marketing thing, and I talked about being able to find people, but it's not just being able to find people. If you take that information and then process it through something like LinkedIn, you literally can find people who know the people so that you can get a referral instead of just calling the people.
Yeah.
So if you have that in the human resources end, where you're looking for somebody who's got some talent, and then you have a secondary way to be able to filter that individual's information, maybe it's just back through LinkedIn to try to find people who actually know them so you can pre-qualify them. And we found great talent that the reason that we found them through the channels that we found them is because of the other baggage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it would be great to not just be able to find somebody, but to have a referral, to get a referral, just like on the other end. I mean, we want a referral outgoing. You want somebody to tell the other person great things about you. But I'd like to be able to have a candidate and have somebody, be able to
Vouch
find
for them,
people
right?
more organically that I could have them tell me about the person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great idea. That's actually really, and I think that's probably not that difficult to do with the capabilities that we have now, right? And it's just, and it's a better way. Like, so I have 3 girls just all coming right out of college, right? So they all went into the workforce in the last couple of years. And, how they had to game the system with their resume just to get it out with the, putting the keywords in. And I'm like, this is not the way to get a job, right? Like you want to be able to personalize it and say, where are my skills? And who's looking for these skills? So the referral thing I just think is genius. So Paul, that's really a good idea. So for all you HR folks and platforms that are watching this, Paul just gave you a great idea of how to make that recruiting experience even better. So Paul, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us, for sharing your insights. I've learned a ton from you today on things I just didn't know about, and I think it's exciting.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited. And I appreciate the time.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for spending time with us. And that wraps up this episode of Future Proofed. And we'll get this thing excited. Paul, I know we'll put all the links and we'll reach out and they'll be all in the show notes. Tell everybody how to get, if someone wants to get in touch with you guys at Truckman's.
So at Truckman's, our URL is www.truckmans, that's TRUKMANNS.com. We're also at 973-538-7718. Our visual division, which we didn't talk about, is wall-to-wall visuals and decor. And that's the area where we specialize in all of the visuals, whether they're interior or exterior. And we also do quite a bit of signage there. And you can feel free to call, and if you do call and reach out to us, you could ask for Paul or Matt.
Excellent. And all those links are down in the show notes, so definitely click this when we're up and live. But Paul, thank you again, and we'll definitely be following you, and hopefully you get a bunch of people reaching out to do business with you.
Thank you much.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.